Well, hey folks, kicking it here in the woods. Drove up to a cool spot, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Got Tommy the trail dog hanging out here with me. And I'm looking forward to this video because we're gonna talk about some 1095 blades, fixed blades from Condor that have very similar features, but some different blade shapes. I'm talking about the Condor Terrasaur. Did a video on this about a year ago, so I've had it in the rotation for about a year. Real cool, very affordable option for 1095 Scandi ground, full tang, fixed blade. But they now have what they call the Bushglider. So 1095 as well, full tang as well, exact same handle, exact same sheath, but a completely different blade shape. I mean, we got jimping, we got a huge clip on it, and we got basically a full flat grind. So today I'm gonna put both of these kind of head to head. We'll talk about their specs and capabilities and all that, but really also discuss if you are looking for these compact, kind of belt knives, which one would maybe be better suited for you, the Scandi grind version or more of the clip point full flat grind version when you are going out camping, hiking, backpacking, and just enjoying life and using your tools to work on not only making a meal but also working out in the woods and doing woodscraft and those type of things. So guys, let's go ahead, jump into it, see what these two blades have going on, what the 1095 versus the 1075 is doing from Condor, and some of those things that we'll take a look at today. All right, let's get to the business end of the blades, kind of the differences first, then we'll hit all the similarities with handle ergonomics and sheath here in a moment. But what we are looking at here is 4 1/4 overall blade lengths on both of these knives. They are both going to be 1/8 of an inch thick back there near the handle and then tapering down, with the Terrasaur being thicker to that tip, whereas the Bushglider kind of tapers and eventually gets to a very precise tip on the blade. So the Terrasaur will have a more robust tip, and then the Bushglider will have a more precision, thinner tip. So just keep that in consideration. If you're doing tons and tons of prying, the Terrasaur arguably would be the better tip to use. Piercing though, the Bushglider is definitely better. Now they both have this stained wash that's holding up very well. I really like that. That'll help fight against rust, and it looks really good, and it's not that kind of baked on, sprayed on, high traction coating that we see with a lot of other blades on the market. This is actually a very good coating. Doesn't hinder the 90-degree spine on both of these blades, and I really like that aspect a lot. So just gonna be rolling in tons of footage here as we get to discuss these blades, because I had a lot of use with both of these knives. They are both a lot of fun, and it doesn't matter which one you go with, or if you get both, you'll get a ton of use out of these knives. They really fit, I think, a really good niche, and it really just depends on what you're looking for. But we'll hit that 1095 first. Out of the gate, I want to say I'm glad that Condor is using this steel over their old 1075 on more and more knives. I hope they continue to do that. I've never been super impressed with Condor's 1075, just being real. Maybe it works fine for jungle environments with lots of greenery, but for any type of hard wood use whatsoever, even in their bigger blades, when even delimbing and chopping, and even with their smaller blades, I've used their Condor Bushglider, I've used some of those other blades, and they dull, and roll edge is really easy. And I'm just have never been a really big fan of it. That's why you don't see a lot of their tools reviewed here at the channel. So I was hoping to see an upgrade in edge retention and strength on the blades, and I have. Now, I don't know what their Rockwell is that they're doing. I've seen some numbers of 50 to 55. I don't know if that's accurate because it is holding a better edge than the 1075. Whatever they're doing, it's doing decent. It's definitely not on level with say Tops or Essie and some of those other companies out there, K-Bar with their 1095s. But I think it's doing good, and it's definitely better in an upgrade over the 1075. And of course, it's very easy to tune up, very easy to resharpen out in the field, which is a plus, and you'll get that longer edge retention. Now, with that said, onto the blade designs themselves. Obviously, a Scandi grind is going to lend itself to a very precision cutter when it comes to fine woodworking tasks, notching. You need to take deep chunks out of a piece of wood because you're trying to do a lot of spear points. Maybe you're doing a bowl, you're doing different types of just cuts, notches that you're not going to necessarily be doing in just your day-to-day camp chores. You're doing definitely more bushcraft, woodscraft tasks. I mean, the grinding is really good on this with that 1/8 of an inch thick They did a really good job. It had a good edge out of the box, and I just tuned it up with some ceramic rods over time. That's all I've done to it, and it really does well. So on all that woodscraft, it's going to work very, very nicely. The one drawback is food prep. It's not going to be fun to use around your camp kitchen, and you'll be wanting to use a different blade unless you literally are going to cut like an apple, in which case it'll get it done, but it's going to be a messy cut. You're just not going to enjoy that. Whereas on the flip side, this Bushglider with that full flat grind, that swedge, really offers some more versatility in certain aspects. It still is a really good woodworker. I got really good fine cuts done. It doesn't bite in as deep just because it's not a scanty grind, but you know, you want to remove a lot of wood and you're wanting to do some notches. Even though the clip isn't really designed for that, there are some points on the knife where you can do some pressing and, you know, do some finer cuts and absolutely get some feather sticks going for a fire or something like that. Totally doable with this blade, and performs very well because it's an 1/8 thick. And so particularly on the more man-made material side as well, if you're going through rubber and hose and paracord and those type of things, it just seems to work a lot better because of the full flat grind over the Scandi. The Scandi really excels in wood. Basically the full flat excels at everywhere else and can still do wood pretty darn well. And then it really excels in food prep. If you're gonna be using this around your camp kitchen a lot, or you think that's something you're gonna be doing, you definitely will connect more with the full flat on the Bushglider just because of the pure edge geometry and the way the blade is designed. All right, let's hit these ergonomic handles. Very simple, but that's what you want in a woodscraft style of knife. You want to be able to hold this thing for hours, this thing for hours, and be able to feel comfortable, have it feel organic, not creating hot spots. That's exactly what this handle does. Now, the specs on this is 4.75 inches overall length, and it's going to be 0.86 on the width. So very good there. A little bit of a swell in the center, a little guard, full tank construction all the way through. It's a polymer. I think I saw somewhere it was polypropylene. It's a dense, hard plastic, basically. So it's not going to be rubberized. It's going to be dense, which means longer longevity. You know, it's not like Kraton where it might peel over time or anything like that. So that's a good thing. And again, that full tang, and you're looking at 4.53 ounces, so very lightweight. I have pocket knives that outweigh these knives, so that's very good, very lightweight, which means that you're more likely to carry it. So that's a good thing as well. You got a couple color combinations, brown, green, black, and orange. So on both of these designs, so that's a good thing. And you're also going to have this kind of fish scale texture on the sides, and then kind of just a little bit of texturing on the top and bottom. So it gives you kind of a medium grip. That guard works well. I have large size gloves, as you guys know, my large size hands. Everybody knows that in the knife community by now if you're on YouTube. So you can see there's plenty of room to spare. Little guard there. Not an overly thin neck, but it does kind of come up a little bit there. No issue. Feels great in the hand. Very organic. You can totally hold it in a reverse chest lever grip and do, you know, hours of use if you want to do that way, which is very, very good. Good traction on the sides there. A little bit of that guard. I like that versus just like a Puko design. Pukos always make me nervous, and maybe it's just because I'm not a good enough woodscrafter like some of you guys, but I like to have at least a little bit of a guard. Now, something to consider is that this does have, the Bushglider, some jimp up there, and there it is blocky, but it is sharp. So most of the time I just use, you know, my hammer grip like that, totally fine. I did put my thumb on there a few times to get a good better grip on some push cuts, and it didn't really cause an issue. If jimping is something you're not a really big fan of, just know that though it's square, the angles are sharp there, which again would aid with some wicked throwing sparks, but you will feel it. So be aware of that. That's something to consider. You know, if that's where you really like to rest your thumb, you may want to just, you know, buff it with a sander real quick, belt sander or something, just kind of round off the edges a little bit. Something to be aware of. All right, so now we got some ambidextrous polymer lightweight sheaths that adds to the overall just lightweight but very usable package. Now what we have here is, I think it's a true leather, not a synthetic. It's good, it's thick. It's not a super huge loop. You can get probably your average belt, but if you're running like larger tactical belts or heavy thick belts, you might have a little bit of trouble there. Most belts will probably run through there just fine. You can pop this off and swap it again, so it's ambidextrous. You got some drainage holes in there, and then this blade and the other one, you could literally swap sheaths if you wanted to. Nice, good, solid, snappy retention. Almost no rattle. and that's going to be on both of these. And it is not going to fall out. So even upside down, if you did want to lash it, you know, take the little belt attachment off and lash it a certain way, you would be set and good to go. You do get this little jimp run right here, and you can just push off of that and pull the blade out. Now it is a very tight snap in there. Possibly over time, maybe if you want to use a heat gun, you could loosen that up a little bit. Because of the way where the jimp is, it's totally fine. You just got to kind of work with it a little bit, but I'd rather have it overly secure than so loosey-goosey it just wants to fall out or it's rattling all over the place. So it's a good compromise. All right, my dudes, so here we are with price point. I bought both of these knives, paid $42 for both of these tools. Each one is 42 bucks. We'll just split the difference because it kind of depends on who, what, when, where, why. They're usually about 45 bucks, right around in that area. We'll have a ton of links for you guys below. Amazon, Smoky Mountain Knife Works has them. Blade HQ has them. I'm not sure GP Knives does. You can check that out. But we'll have a ton of links for you. If these knives or some of the competitive options about to run in for you make sense or connect with you, we do appreciate when you look in that description box. Click that link. Helps me continue to make content just like this. Quick shout out to all the PayPal supporters. You're awesome. If you haven't yet thought about supporting on PayPal, I invite you to consider that. Helps me make content, and you supporters are epic who do that week in, week out. So $42, 45 bucks. I mean, you're getting a lot of knife. You're getting full tang. You're getting ergonomic handles. You're getting 1095. You're getting good fit and finish for that price point. It's still got a little bit of wonkiness every once in a while here and there with Condor. You know, the tip on the Terrasaur is a little off to one side, just a hair, but I mean, I'll see that out of lots of US factories as well, particularly in this price point. But we're getting a lot and a lot to offer here. So there's a few competitive options. I just want to run in real fast, food for thought. Obviously, a big main runner-up, particularly in the bushcraft arena, is the Mora cans bowl. About $35 for the basic model that would match in attachment options to the Terrasaur and the Bushglider. You can spend 50 bucks and get their MOLLE compatible option. Unless you really see value in it, it's better just to save money and go this way. Sandvik 12C27, I believe, on there. So it's a stainless steel versus high carbon. So if you're in high humid environments, might be a better option. It does have that kind of combo full flat with a Scandi ground blade. What I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer either dedicated FFG or Scandi. 90-degree spine on that. Not a full tang, but still get a lanyard hole. I'd argue at this size and weight class, you don't need full tang. It's a nice feature, but you don't need it. We've seen people, you know, try to destroy Moras and it takes forever. So it's something to consider there. And then more just for food for thought than anything else, just kind of wanted to run it in for some fun here, is the Cold Steel Outdoorsman Light full tang construction. This has a more grippy kind of polymer to it. This has the 4034 SS steel. It's a stainless steel. I've never used it on another knife before. It performs decently. I like just the simplicity of 1095. So if you're asking me which type of steel do you prefer, I kind of prefer the 1095 that the Condors have. But if again you need high, you know, rust resistance, this is a stainless steel, and it's going to be a little bit longer. It does have a similar kind of Mora style belt. Sheath, you know, belt attachment, usually going to go for around 30 to 40 bucks. So about, again, $10 cheaper than the Condors. But I would argue that though it's got some cool features, it's different than either of these blades, but just kind of in that same family, I guess, if you will. Well, here we are back at home and got to give you my final thoughts. You know, if you only were going to spend $45-ish on one of these, you know, which one would I go out and buy? Which one do I think I would gravitate more to? It's actually a pretty easy pick for me. This is my opinion with the way I use knives. It's the Bushglider. The clip, the aesthetics just connect with me, and the full flat grind, the way I use my compact fixed blades just makes a lot more sense and will get more use over the years than the Scandi ground Terrasaur. Now, that's not dissing it in any way. This knife has a lot going for it, and if you're just not really a Mora fan, or maybe you just got so many Moras, you're just kind of sick of them and you want something a little bit different, but maybe you don't want to go the full Monty, you know, and spend the money for like the full tang Mora Garberg, but you want something that's full tang with 1095, I mean, it's basically, depending on where you pick it up, half the price for the high carbon steel version of the Mora. And there's not a lot of other full tang over 4-inch Scandi ground blades on the market that are going to do what this knife can do for the price. but with this full flat grind version, you're still getting very ergonomic handle. You're getting that very simplistic but very functional sheath, but then you're getting a really cool blade shape that can just do a lot of camp work for your food prep, but also just do a lot of stuff around a campsite that necessarily isn't in the woodscraft realm, but can still hold its own when you're making feather sticks and spear points and those type of activities. So that's me, guys, but I want to hear from you. Which one do you gravitate to more? Which one maybe do you already own that you just connect with on a really, you know, base level, that you're just like, oh yeah, dude, that Bushglider totally, you know, kills it for me? Or if you're like, no, that Terrasaur is the way to go. That's what I want to hear from you guys, and that's what I love to read in the comments below. So that's my opinion, that's my experience with these two blades. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Check out the other video popping up. I invite you to subscribe if you're not a current subscriber yet. Throwing up content like this all the time. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.